Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tebachano. I will be directing the program for today. My colleague will, however, take over at a later stage. Welcome to day 2 of the Law Professionals Workshop. Thank you for joining us once more. Without further ado, I am officially opening the program and would like to call upon the first speaker, Mrs. Hazel Makanya, who will be doing the opening, welcoming, and purpose of the day. Over to you, Mrs. Makanya.
It gives me great pleasure this morning to welcome all of you to the second day of the Law Professionals Workshop, which started yesterday, a day that was packed with insightful presentations from esteemed guest speakers. Our university's commitment is to educate and prepare all-rounded graduates who will contribute meaningfully in their roles as professionals and members of society. Career development is one of the components of this imperative. While academic development is the key component of university education, career development is also key because it is important for one's career trajectory. Therefore, the purpose of today, ladies and gentlemen, we have invited a variety of speakers who are professionals and well informed in their career fields to encourage, to inspire, but most of all to help you to refine your career fields and your career journeys. And for this reason, I just want to say, sit down and relax and learn as much as you possibly can. And while doing so, think about where you are going and collect all the information that is presented today to help you to refine your career trajectory. Thank you, Madam Director.
I will now kindly call upon Mr. Sipo Matie, who will be presenting about Unisa Law Clinic.
My name is Matie Sipo, and I'm here on behalf of the Unisa Law Clinic. I know most of you might have heard about the Unisa Law Clinic, and indeed some of you might not have heard about the Unisa Law Clinic. And I hope my presentation today will provide the much needed clarity, information about the work of the Law Clinic, where is it located, and how can you be part of it in terms of possible employment, collaboration, participation in the activities that it offers, and the likes. The Unisa Law Clinic is run as an independent professional attorney's practice and is recognized as such by the professional governing body, being the Legal Practice Council, and the clinic applies and receives accreditation and certification and complies to the same rules ordinarily applicable to any private attorney in South Africa. At the Law Clinic is where you will find legal practitioners with empathy for indigent people and a drive to serve the community without compromising or sacrificing the standard that is required of legal education. The Unisa Law Clinic is a department under the Unisa's College of Law and is currently led by Advocate Gagodi Morota, as showed on the screen here. Now, the Unisa Law Clinic head office is situated in Pretoria at the Unisa's Sunnyside campus, but the Law Clinic also has got 3 other branches located in Limpopo in the city of Polokwane, located in Mpumalanga in Middelburg, and another one in the Western Cape at the Unisa Paro campus. The staff component of the Unisa Law Clinic is made of legal practitioners, candidate legal practitioners, legal secretaries, advocates, and legal messengers. The department also has somebody who does our marketing, our projects, and a person who is responsible for legal research. The Law Clinic, everyone, aims to achieve 2 primary goals. Number 1 is the provision of clinical legal education, particularly to final year LLB students, with the emphasis on capacitating them about critical legal skills such as how they communicate, administrative skills, and drafting skills, argumentation skills, and all the skills that are very much necessary to make someone a successful lawyer. Secondly, the Law Clinic aims to deliver free legal services to the indigent members of the public who otherwise are unable to afford the services of private attorneys. And in servicing such community members, Program Director, I see a comment from a person that they are unable to see the screen. I'm not sure if it's not visible on everybody's side.
And from my side, it's visible.
Okay, then let me continue. Thank you so much, Program Director. Yes, as I've indicated, colleagues, the Unisa Law Clinic offers legal services to the indigent members of the community. And such matters that are being offered to these members include divorce, maintenance, domestic violence, evictions, civil litigation in general, matters related to labor law, impact litigation, and matters falling within the sphere of criminal law. And then in providing the above mentioned services, our legal practitioners consult, they draft letters, notices, and pleadings, and then where necessary, they appear on behalf of our clients in a court of law and other tribunals and relevant forums such as the CCMA or the bargaining councils. Similarly, our legal practitioners offer and advise. They represent our clients at roundtable discussions in any other related hearings. The Unisa Law Clinic also provides student support in the form of foci plan projects. We have got the number four foci plan projects at the Unisa Law Clinic, one being the moot court, which is a mock judicial proceeding that is set up to examine a hypothetical case by the students. And then such students are then made to submit legal arguments orally and written to a panel of judges. The Unisa Law Clinic also has a program of street law, which entails the training of students on various legal topics. And then the students take the knowledge that they have been trained about back to the community to educate and to empower them. The Law Clinic also has a project named the Student Debate, which is offered annually. The aim being to develop the students' writing skills, to develop the students' presentation skills, and the argumentation skills. Lastly, the Law Clinic also has practical legal skills, which is a project that is akin or rather almost similar to law school because it teaches a student about life post-LLB. It provides extracurricular practical legal education that blends the theory that the student have acquired in their legal studies and the necessary practice. The department has also collaborated with a student structure named ULSA. The college have decided that it was too far from the students and it needed a structure or an association that will ensure that the activities of the college can reach the students efficiently and effectively. Then, when ULSA was formed, the Unisa College of Law adopted ULSA and collaborated with it to ensure that the activities could best reach the students when and as they are applied. So these were our moot court students in the Durban region. They were in Durban Magistrate Court. They were participating there. And then these were our street law students in the region of Polokwane after they had just finished their presentation, educating the members of the public, as you can see on the picture. And then these were our students after having their session at Unisa's Mbombela campus with their trainer there, Mrs. Ketani, which is a principal attorney at the Unisa Law Clinic. Now, what advantages are there to you as a student when you participate in our foci plan projects. You will definitely be capacitated with the much needed research and analytical skills, the much needed drafting skills, where you can learn how to draft, for example, heads of argument. You can learn how to draft, for example, summons of court. You can learn how to draft, for example, notice of motions, any other pleadings, and any other court documents that are needed in practice. When you participate in these projects, you will obviously develop your confidence, and you'll also amass the skills that is necessary to address the court, particularly court etiquette. You will also be capacitated in terms of how you write, because that is very important. In fact, one of the presenters yesterday emphasized on the fact that you must be able to write. Whether you write an email or you write letters, that must be done with a higher standard. Then you must have good presentation skills, because law is generally on how you present yourself. And then you must then learn and be capacitated with argumentation skills, the ability to formulate a legal argument. Those are the advantages that you can learn when you participate in the foci plan projects. And the litigation techniques in general, because litigation generally is about techniques. That is why you find people that have done legal wrong, but somehow surviving because they have hired lawyers that are so technically astute. They know how to manipulate the law lawfully. So these are the techniques that we also aim to teach you, so that you know how to represent your client best when you finally, enter the practice. The Law Clinic also offers practical vocational training and vacation work programs. Practical vocational training is what is commonly known as articles of clerkships, and this is offered to LLB graduates for a period of 2 years. And then in this 2-year period, the person who's participating in this program are given files to work on them from the very beginning until they finalize them. So such candidate legal practitioners are given the opportunity to consult with the clients, take their instructions, accordingly draft the necessary pleading, and then if the matter ends in court, then they appear in court on their behalf. At the current moment, the Unisa Law Clinic across all its regions have 11 candidate legal practitioners who are currently serving their training, and then will then be admitted in practice as soon as obviously they have complied with all other requirements there too. At the end of every year, and through the collaborative efforts of the Unisa Law Student Association, the ULSA office, the department select a number of final year LLB students to come and work with us for a period of 3 weeks. And then thereafter, these particular students are given certificate of completion, which they can use to strengthen, to boost their curriculum vitae in their employment endeavors. Similarly, the department offers a series of workshops, lecturers, and seminars. So if there is a burning legal topic that is currently happening, or if there is a major legal development in the country, the Law Clinic invites experts in the field to come and then educate all of us about such major developments. And then this is to the benefit of our students. This is to the benefit of our legal practitioners. This is for the benefit of the staff component of the entire Law Clinic and the university in general. So moving right along, what has been showed here, ladies and gentlemen, is the contact information of the Unisa Law Clinic. There is a telephone number there and the email addresses, which you can utilize when you need an expansion on an issue that I might have mentioned, or we need any elaboration on anything that you might have came across, and then you wish clarity from the Law Clinic. But what is also important, students and colleagues, is that the Law Clinic is very much active in social media, whereby all major developments of the department, such as number 1, adverts, number 2, vacation work programs, number 3, when our focal plan projects are commencing, and then when they are currently undertaking, and everything else that is happening at the Unisa Law Clinic is posted in our social media platforms. You are therefore encouraged to follow the department in these social media platforms so that you are informed about everything that is happening here. Also, we have a YouTube channel whereby everything that has transpired at the department has been shared on YouTube. So if you, for example, want to know more of how the Law Clinic, for example, runs moot court, there are moot court sessions that have been covered on YouTube Live, and then the recording of such sessions are in our YouTube channel. So you may go and then familiarize yourself with such things so that then you know, oh, so this is exactly what the Law Clinic does, and then now you are familiar with it, and then you may contact us if you have an idea, and then you can sit down with the relevant stakeholders of the department, and then they can advise you about whatever issue, whatever inquiry that you might have. Now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to my presentation.
I will now open the question and answer session.
I am doing my diploma in law. So I just wanted to ask, seeing that when I finish my diploma, I'll be qualified as a paralegal. So I just wanted to understand if are there any maybe opportunities for paralegals in the clinic until we are able to further our studies and get their LLB, or do we just have to get our LLB and that would just it? Just wanted to understand that. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, as I've indicated in my presentation, one of the people that work at the department are legal secretaries. And indeed, with your paralegal qualification or the diploma in law, rather, you do qualify to work as a legal secretary. So I would advise you to be on a lookout for a possible post of a legal secretary as and when it is advertised. Generally now I would advise you to register for your LLB, and then you also stand a good chance of applying for articles of flagship as and when they are advertised as well. Thank you so much, Tebo.
I just wanted to check with you, are you having any plans to open a branch somewhere around Joburg or Florida campus, Unisa campus?
Well, that is a question which an answer would obviously be provided by the hierarchy of the department. But when we are in meetings, obviously the plan is there to expand the clinic. But what I know is that they want to open a department where it's very much needed in the rural areas, deep, where there is no law clinic, for example. If you check in Mpumalanga, where they've established, there was no law clinic there. Recently, they have University of Mpumalanga, which I believe has a law clinic, but there was nothing there. So in Johannesburg, you've got UJ, you've got VETS. So obviously, it might discourage opening there because already people are receiving legal service in that area. But obviously, there are plans to look into these things. I saw another one from the chat asking if there's a plan to do one in the law clinic in the KZN. I believe so. I believe so. It's part of the vision of the College of Law. So as and when that happens, you will obviously be informed.
I will then call upon Mr. Brian Mhlongo. Mr. Mhlongo will be presenting to us about the role of legal practice counsel and the route to becoming an advocate. Over to you, Mr. Mhlongo.
My name is Brian Mhlongo, and I work as a senior legal advisor in the Office of the Executive Officer at the National Office of the Legal Practice Council. Today, I was requested to come in and discuss the pivotal role of the Legal Practice Council and the route to becoming an advocate in South Africa. An overview of the Legal Practice Council. The Legal Practice statutory body responsible for regulating the legal profession in South Africa. And the Legal Practice Council was established under the Legal Practice Act 28 of 2014 in terms of Section 4 of the Act. Its primary purpose is to regulate the affairs of legal practitioners and ensure compliance with legal and ethical standards using the following legislations, being the Legal Practice Act 28 of 2014, which brought the Legal Practice Council into existence, the regulations, which were made under Section 109 of the Act, the Legal Practice Council rules, and the Legal Practice Council Code of Conduct. The functions of the Legal Practice Council, an overview of that is to provide regulation and oversight to the profession. It ensures that legal practitioners adhere to the professional and ethical standards that are required. It also deals with admissions and enrollments, which it oversees all the admissions and enrollments of legal practitioners, being advocates and attorneys. And it also sets the standards of legal education and practical vocational training, which used to be commonly known as articles of clerkship, and for advocates as pupillage. It also deals with disciplinary actions, handling of complaints from members of the public, and also from whoever is not satisfied or has issues with regards to the conduct of legal practitioners. So the Legal Practice Council also provides discipline towards such incidences. And then it also deals with promoting access to justice by ensuring that the legal profession contributes to the public interest and access to justice. And it further facilitates the transformation and democratization of the legal profession. And the route of becoming an advocate starts the day you decide you want to pursue an LLB qualification. That's actually the first step in the journey of becoming an advocate. The admission and enrollment of process, or the admission and enrollment process of being a legal practitioner, is in terms of Chapter 3 of the Legal Practice Act, as mentioned earlier, being sections 24 to 35 of the Act. And the procedure for admission and enrollment is in terms of Rule 17 of the Legal Practice Council rules. Section 26 of the Act actually outlines, in summary, the requirements for a person to be eligible for admission and enrollment as a legal practitioner, which, as mentioned, one of the first steps is to obtain an LLB degree from which is registered in the Republic. Once you've obtained your LLB degree, from there onwards, the pieces of legislation that I mentioned earlier becomes part of your Bible, because that's what you'll be using on your journey to become admitted and enrolled, which just to explain the terms in terms of admission and enrollment. The courts, since once you are admitted as a legal practitioner, either being an advocate or an attorney, the courts are the only ones that have the power to admit a person, as we are officers of the court once you are admitted. And it authorizes enrollment, meaning it gives you the right to be enrolled by the Legal Practice Council and be recognized as a legal practitioner at that stage. mentioned that the first step is to get your LLB degree. The second step, the practical vocational training requirements for candidate legal practitioners. Practical vocational training is what they used to call articles or pupillage in terms of advocates. So you would be required to complete that. And you'd also be required to pass the competency-based examination, which is it's commonly known as the board exams. With regards to practical vocational training, the requirements that a pupil, because once you have started your practical vocational training, you become a pupil. You must comply with Regulation 7 as set out in the regulation, which is called Regulation 7. That one deals with undergoing of practical vocational training for pupils. Once, as I mentioned, you've met the LLB requirement, you are required to undergo practical vocational training, which must be done for advocates for an uninterrupted period of 12 months. And you actually undergo the practical vocational training and enter into a practical vocational training contract with a qualified person. The qualified person could be an advocate, who is enrolled and practicing, or by an advocate in full-time employment of Legal Aid South Africa, an approved legal aid institution, or any other council-approved institution responsible for supervising pupils during the period of PVT. You'll also be required to complete a structured course work program with comprising of compulsory modules of not less than 400 national hours, which is equivalent to 6 months, either prior to or during your practical vocational training contract. These modules, the modules that you are required to complete relate to advocacy skills, including trial and motion court proceedings and court attendance, alternative dispute resolution, civil procedure, criminal procedure, professional conduct and legal ethics of advocates, legal writing and drafting, constitutional law and customary law, and information and communication technology for practice and cyber law aspects. And I don't know if most of you are aware that ever since coming into effect of the Legal Practice Act, there was a new type or a new kind of advocate that was introduced called a trust account advocate. So if you want to pursue a career in becoming a trust account advocate, you'd also, in one of the modules, in all the modules that I've mentioned, you'd also be required to do bookkeeping, which is intended for advocates. Those advocates, trust account advocates, are advocates referred to in Section 34, subsection 2B of the Act, meaning they can operate a trust account and also take instructions directly from members of the public, as referral advocates are not allowed to take instructions directly from members of the public. They can only be briefed by attorneys. The second step, the third step, sorry, that I mentioned earlier, being the competency-based examination, you'll be required to write all the papers, the board exam papers for the advocate's profession. You'll be required to write 5 papers, which comprise of motion court proceedings, trial court proceedings, and ADR, criminal procedure, ethics, constitutional law, and customary law, legal writing and drafting, And if you want to pursue a career as a trust account advocate, you'll be required to write the board exam that is written by candidate attorneys for bookkeeping. And once you have passed all those papers and you have completed your practical vocational training, being your PVT, your pupillage, you will be required then to make an application to the High Court for your admission. And as mentioned earlier, the application procedure for admission is outlined in Rule 17 of the Legal Practice Council rules. Once you have made that application, the application would be an ex parte application, meaning you are doing it yourself. And that ex parte application must be submitted to the Legal Practice Council in their respective provincial councils. Sorry, I didn't mention that we also have provincial councils in all 9 provinces, where they actually do the day-to-day running of the Legal Practice Council. So once you have completed or drafted your ex parte application, you'd be required to submit a copy of it to the Legal Practice Council, and then it will sit there for not more than 30 days for inspection, while you have already filed it also at the High Court, and you will receive a date in which you must come in and appear for your application for admission. While the ex parte application is with the LPC, they'll be checking whether it is accurately written, whether the facts that are contained in there are true, and whether you, if there's nothing that you have done that would the council or the Legal Practice Council would feel like you are not eligible to be admitted. And then if they are happy with your application or there's no issues, the Legal Practice Council will then issue a no objection letter to your request to be admitted and enrolled as a legal practitioner. And once the court date comes in, you will then go to the High Court, and you will be then admitted as such. And once a court order has been granted that you be admitted as an advocate and be authorized to be enrolled as a legal practitioner, you would have to then communicate with your provincial council, in the relevant province that you are in, informing them whether you want to be on the practicing role or the non-practicing role. Once you've made that decision, then you would either be on the practicing role or in the non-practicing role. But in either on both roles, you would still be regarded or seen as a legal practitioner. If you're either if you are not on the roll of the Legal Practice Council, you are not entitled to practice law.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mhlongo, for your presentation. It was very informative. Mr. Mhlongo, I just have 2 questions, and I think you touched a bit on the one question that I do have. And my question is, I'm hoping that you can address this. My question is, are individuals with criminal records eligible to apply to be admitted as attorneys or advocates, or are they going to be deemed as incompetent? And my second question will rather be a follow-up question depending on the answer that you'll give me. Thank you.
Thank you, Debela. People with criminal records can still, for instance, be admitted, but it depends on the type of crime or offense that you have committed. That's why when you're making your application, even from inception, when you are making your application for practical vocational training, when you are entering into your practical vocational training contract, you are required to actually disclose to the Legal Practice Council if you have any form of criminal record. So you are also supposed to attach confirmation of criminal checks that have been conducted by SAPS or an accredited service provider that can that actually provides such information for the council to evaluate the type of, for instance, offense that you have committed, and whether, if it has been committed a long time ago, whether there has been any form of rehabilitation that you have undertaken to remedy what you have done before. And then the council or the Legal Practice Council will then, through its subcommittees, one of them being the Professional Affairs Committee, either on a provincial level or on a national level, will then consider the submissions that you've made and then either grant you your request to enter into that privity contract, or in a later stage, since you'd have disclosed it in the PVT contract, even for admission, then it would have been addressed that you once engaged in a specific offense and then you have been rehabilitated to it. Then it would be the court's discretion when considering the papers whether you should be admitted or not. But normally, criminal offenses such as traffic fines and all of that, they wouldn't stop you from being admitted or entering into a PVT contract. Even when it comes to normally some of the matters, which are few that we normally get, if you've been declared, for instance, insolvent and stuff like that, especially when you want to be admitted as a trust account advocate or an attorney practicing for his own account who's in future planning on opening his own law firm. If you have once been declared insolvent or you are in the process of such sequestrations and such, it would be difficult for the council to approve you being able to practice for your own account, but you'd still be admitted. But for instance, you'd work as a professional assistant, you wouldn't be allowed to deal with trust monies. So it depends on the offense that you have committed. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, I think you've actually elaborated a bit more than I expected. So my follow-up question is there anywhere, like maybe in the rules of the LPC, maybe in legislation, where we can like at least get a list of criminal offenses that will deem you incompetent to apply as an attorney? Because I'm asking this, like for instance, now imagine if someone is studying law and they've committed a crime such as your drink and driving, and then it's listed in somewhere in legislation or in the rules that if you have been found guilty of an offense of drink and driving, you will not be admitted as an attorney. So now this person is studying the LLB degree for nothing. So that's my follow-up question. Is there a place where we can find where those offenses are written down in maybe in statute or maybe in some form of rules somewhere?
Thank you, Tevelo. To answer that, there's actually no rule or provision that speaks to that. But it's actually a good question because we are currently now, as the Legal Practice Council, creating a list of offenses that, for instance, there'll be a section where these ones are offenses. Even if you've committed them, you can still enter into a PVT contract. You can still apply for admission. And then there's others that where we would have or require, for instance, even more proof in terms of rehabilitation, or you won't be eligible for admission. So we are currently developing that type of form or list that we will then circulate once it has been approved by the council itself. So at the moment, there is no provision on the Act or the rules or even the Code of Conduct that actually lists or outlines those type of offenses.
For now, I would kindly like to call upon Mr. Naledi Kiani, who will be presenting about Unisa Law Students Association, ULSA. Mr. Kiani.
My name is Naledi Kiani. I am a law student doing my third year with Unisa, and I am a representative of ULSA. And I represent, in particular, the Tshwane region. I will start by reading the preamble to the Constitution of ULSA, and it reads, "We, the students of the University of South Africa, registered under the College of Law, acknowledge the need for unity and togetherness as law students. We commit ourselves in moving beyond the traditional open distance learning education towards a more comprehensive open distance learning. We are also dedicated in promoting, developing, and improving the basic educational needs and encouraging excellence for all law students in the University of South Africa. Our aims as ULSA is to deal with student challenges. Amongst those are registration issues and disciplinary issues. Students have an issue with registering modules because of a number of other issues which delve into disciplinary issues and other issues. But when it comes to disciplinary issues, we have a committee that deals with disciplinary matters. And so far, throughout the year, we have represented 3 students, and there are also other disciplinary matters that have also been raised that we will also attend to. Our second aim is to create an environment of togetherness. We acknowledge as students that the university tends to become very lonely at times, and being able to comprehend stuff and work towards attaining such the qualification that you came to get becomes a bit problematic. We create study groups and support groups through participation, where people doing the same modules and doing the same courses are grouped together and are able to interact, help each other with a understanding of the module so that we can all attain what we came here to do. We also encourage student participation by bridging the gap between theory and practice. We achieve this through our working relationship with the Unisa Law Clinic. I'm very happy that before me, the Unisa Law Clinic came in and spoke about the programs that they have to offer, but I will also highlight those programs which are student debate, moot court, street law, and these programs are then used to bridge that which bridge the gap between what we study and practice. We also through law clinic have opportunities for networking, where students can meet people, judges, advocates, people who have firms and all, and they can engage with them and hopefully place themselves in a better opportunity for employment once they are done. Lastly, we want to develop a relationship between the SRC, College of Law, Law Clinic for the benefit of all students. Currently, there are some cries amongst the students, which we are busy with together with the Student Command and the SRC. And our role and our drive is so that all students should not suffer while we are here and we can deal with those. I thank you.
I was asking if like there's a law clinic at the Sunnyside campus.
Yes, there is a law clinic at the Sunnyside campus.
I'd just like to know how do we contact the association?
You can find us at Sunnyside campus. We also are on Facebook. You would say ULSA Tshwane Regional, and you will also find us on TikTok Tshwane ULSA Regional, and then you can come in, and then we will address any issue. And if you also want to join, you can also come in there, and we will assist you on how to join.
Okay, and just a quick one before we go. In response to that one, in terms of joining, what rules are there that are open?
So we have the disciplinary part. We also have academic students who deal with academics. We also have students who deal with registration. And upon joining and showing interest, then you will also be given a role to play within the organization.
My name is Gloria Sepula, and I'm going to take you through to the end of the program. I'm going to introduce our next speaker, who is Advocate Mutangwa, and he's going to take us through careers as a prosecutor. Advocate, if you are ready, the space is yours, sir.
I'm a senior public prosecutor in the NPA head office based here in Silverton. And I have worked, or I've been working as a prosecutor since 2003. I've worked in both courts as well as managerial positions within the NPA. And I must indicate that my role currently as a senior public prosecutor here in head office is, amongst others, to conduct trainings to the prosecutors and state advocates, and also to prepare the documents which are used for training the prosecutors, skills development amongst the prosecutors, working in conjunction with criminal justice institutions, including SAPS and other stakeholders. And it is also a part of my responsibility to engage with community and other interested parties within community, just to ensure that they get information about the prosecutions. As a prosecutor, we are appointed in terms of the NPA Act and also DPSA, because prosecutors are appointed as civil servants. We are under the government, although we are independent. Our duties are independent. We decide whether to prosecute or not and conduct prosecutions on behalf of the state. Being employed by government doesn't mean that we have to be told what to do with cases. We act independently as enshrined in Section 179 of the Constitution. And the mission and vision of the NPA is to deliver and serve justice without fear nor favor, and also to promote a culture of public responsibility, accountability, and morality. And we also to ensure public confidence in the criminal justice system. So, without getting much into the structure of the NPA, however, NPA is under the leadership of the National Director of Public Prosecutor, who is Advocate Shamila Batoi. She's the head of our institution. And myself being under National Prosecution Service, we are headed by Advocate R. De Kok. He's the one who is responsible for the unit of National Prosecution Service, because there are several units within the NPA. And this unit of NPS is the one which is responsible for all prosecutions throughout the country. And for a person to take a career as a prosecutor, that person should have courage and be dedicated and committed to achieve the goal, which I set out as I indicated in the mission and vision of the NPA, which is to deliver justice. As a prosecutor, we do make research and investigate with police detectives. And being a prosecutor, you tend to be a chief investigator, meaning that you guide police on how they should conduct their investigations. And this refers to being able to go through the dockets. Whenever the police conduct their investigations, the dockets end up in the hands of the prosecutor, who will guide the investigations. And once the investigations are complete, it is then that the prosecutor will so direct that they are complete. And if ever it is necessary to charge someone, then the person will be charged. So this type of work is so strenuous, and it involves a lot of brain work, reading, continuous cross-referencing of information in order to have successful prosecution. This, in other words, means that a person will not necessarily say, I only work from 8 until 4. You have to dedicate some more time, meaning that you'll have to use your own time to ensure that you perform to the best of your ability. Because as a prosecutor, you are a manager of the court that you work in. You must be able to consult with firstly, you must be able to read the dockets, consult with the witnesses, make a decision as to which witnesses you are going to use, or whether you have enough evidence to proceed with the matter. So making that decision needs much brain work, because you'll have to ensure that whatever decision you are taking, you'll be able to stand for it before the court of law. And you must be able to think on your feet, because whilst you are in court presenting, the magistrates can ask you on what you are saying or what you are supposed to do. Then it means that you will have to respond or to know what you are doing there and then. So for prosecutors to decide the cases, We present evidence from the victims and state witnesses, expert witnesses, and any other witnesses who are relevant. We don't use irrelevant witnesses or irrelevant evidence. We must present evidence which is relevant. And this means that whatever decision I've taken, I must know that I am going to win the case or to successfully prosecute the case through this type of evidence. So it is the duty of the prosecutor to ensure that in consultation with the witnesses, you become very, very strict and ensure that the witness whom you are consulting is comfortable, is going to give you all the information that you require, is going to withstand the cross-examination in court, because it doesn't help to have a very good witness while you are consulting. Whereas when you go for cross-examination, that witness is going to be so somehow to such an extent that the prosecutor's case will be diminished. Prosecutors present criminal cases in district courts, which are also referred to as magistrates courts, regional courts, and for your information, district courts and regional courts are referred to as lower courts. They are both referred to as lower courts, even though they are district or magistrate court and regional court, as well as the high courts. So prosecutors present cases on behalf of the state against the accused. This case, or let me say, the case starts when the victim goes to the police station to report a case. Once the case is reported, the police will open the case, and the police may either arrest the suspect or accused from that moment, or if need be, after opening the docket will be taken to the prosecutor for decision. Thereafter, the prosecutor will go all through all these stages of deciding, and after deciding, the matter may be taken to court, and whilst in court, the prosecutor is the one who is going to lead evidence before court. Leading evidence, it means taking the witness to take the stand, and after taking the stand, this witness will be giving evidence, and after giving evidence, it is then that the prosecutors will be leading, and thereafter the defense will then cross-examine this witness. So like I indicated, the role of the prosecutor is that prosecutor is regarded as a lawyer who speaks on behalf of the victims and present cases in courts on behalf of the state. Prosecutor takes criminal cases to court for trial. Also work closely with law enforcement agencies to maintain public safety as enshrined in the Constitution, guide investigations, and ensure those who commit crimes are brought before courts. Victims get necessary support and ensure throughout stages of their cases. So the other thing that I can say with regard to victims is that we must have empathy for the victims, because we are there representing the victims, and therefore we must ensure that they understand the decisions that we are taking, because if they don't understand us, they will end up not having faith in a criminal justice system. So prosecutors attend criminal court proceedings and present relevant evidence before the court after having made thorough preparation to present relevant facts and legal arguments before the court. As prosecutors, we are officers of the court, and we are not expected to mislead the court. So whatever we say, it must be a fact. We must know and understand what we have said. After the case has been finalized, suppose the accused has been found guilty or convicted and sentenced, the accused may opt to appeal against the decision or against what has been taken by the court. Therefore, it means that the prosecutor, mostly here, they are the state advocates who are in the High Court who represent the state in appeal processes. So as prosecutors, our decisions are independent. However, we are also guided by the laws of the Republic as well as by the National Prosecution Act. Core work of the NPA to ensure that those who commit crime are held responsible for their actions, to deliver justice without fear and favor, promote culture of public responsibility, accountability, and morality, ensure public confidence in the criminal justice system, contribute to the growth of South African economy, contribute to social development, ensure that all citizens enjoy their lives free from fear and free from crime, to accomplish the purpose of the Constitution. For example, Section 7 of the Constitution provides that it's about the rights, under Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights is a cornerstone of democracy in South Africa. It enshrines the rights of all people in our country and affirms the democratic values of human dignity, equality, and freedom. Whereas Section 9 is about equality. Everyone is equal before the law and has the right to equal protection and benefit of the law. So this is one of the core work of the NPA. Now let's move on to the recruitment process within the NPA. For one to get appointed within the NPA is only when there is an advertisement of the vacancies within the NPA. And this will be published on the NPA website as well as DPSA website. The advert will explain the requirements and the application process. Applicants will have to submit the applications to the cluster at which they will train. Here, as NPA, we are classified. We do have some clusters. Cluster is a sort of an area which has got some boundaries wherein people will have to apply. For example, we have got Pretoria cluster, we have got Johannesburg cluster. Actually, each and every province has got some clusters. Though it's not even one per cluster, but there are some, there are several. We do have training centers, 34 of them throughout the country. Some provinces have got more training centers depending on the capacity of that area. Applications are screened within the clusters to determine if they are advert compliant applications. Thereafter, applicants are invited for an entry examinations. The entry examinations are on a program called Aspirant Prosecutors Program. This is the program which will be on the advert, NPA website and DPSA as I indicated, and all processes will be explained there. Those who are successful will be invited for interview. And yeah, who is supposed to apply? Final year LLB students are permitted to apply. However, they must have completed their degree before the commencement of the program. Normally, the programs, the aspirant prosecutor program start in February, and the advert will be out. Previously, it used to be out in August or September, but now, due to some government budget cuts, the program has been suspended. So if it were to be there, if it was normal like before, it means that the advert would have been out, and the final year LLB student, knowing that I'll complete by the end of this year, is eligible then to apply, because when the program starts in February of the following year, it means that that person would have completed. And the courses which the person must have: law of evidence, criminal law, criminal procedures, civil procedure, interpretation of status. So those are the courses which one must have completed in his final year LLB or in his LLB degree. So South African citizens with foreign qualifications must verify their qualifications with South African Qualification Authority, who have got the authority to indicate if that qualification is equivalent of our LLB. Key competencies: legal knowledge, communicate effectively, litigation skills, administration abilities, interpersonal skills, which demonstrate the core values of the NPA. Here are the core values of the NPA: independence, professionalism, accountability, credibility, versatility. Assessment and appointment. Okay, let me point out that on the aspirant prosecutor program, a person who has been successful through interviews to become an aspirant prosecutor will be appointed on a 12-month contract basis, and thereafter, after that successful program, then the person may be absorbed. But if one is not successful, it means that you cannot be absorbed as a prosecutor to be in the entry-level prosecutor. So during this 12 months program, there will be monthly reports from the tutors, and there will be practical work in court, dealing with the cases in court, just like any other prosecutor. I see here the question, does one need to be registered with the LPC? No, you don't have to be registered with the RPC for being prosecutor. For being prosecutor, you have to have an LLB. You are appointed as an aspirant prosecutor. Thereafter, you'll be taken to the entry-level prosecutor to start as a district court prosecutor. Career development opportunities within
That's
the
why I was
country.
asking, what do they have? So
Okay, from aspirant prosecutor, you'll be absorbed as a district court prosecutor. And from district court prosecutor, you can be appointed as a regional court prosecutor, or therefore thereafter as a control prosecutor. And if you don't want to, if you want to remain as prosecutor, you can go and apply to be a state advocate, thereafter senior state advocate, and or deputy director of public prosecutor, DPP, director of public prosecutions. Here, there is each and every province has got a director of public prosecution. That is one responsible for the whole province. It's only the exception of Gauteng, wherein we have got two DPPs, North Gauteng and South Gauteng. North Gauteng being Pretoria and South Gauteng being in Johannesburg. Other provinces is one director of prosecution on each, and the requirements for these other positions here are LLB, except the DPP and special directors, wherein they'll require you to have a master's. So as NPA, there are specialized prosecution units. We've got sexual offense and community, that is SOCA unit, which deal with sexual offenses, domestic violence, child maintenance. There are prosecutors who specialize in this type of offenses. We also have organized crime component unit, which deal with the organized crime. We also have serious and complex commercial crime unit, SCCU, which is responsible for commercial crime emanating from commercial branches of the SAPS. The SAPS also has a commercial branch, hence we also have a commercial crime unit within the NPA. It works hand in hand with the HAWK, or the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation. And we also have a unit called Priority Crime Litigation Unit, which is dealing with the crimes arising from the TRC, Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We also have tax component, which is the unit which deals with serious and complex tax offenses. Those who evade taxes, they will be dealt with by the specialized prosecutors who are in this unit. And besides that, we also have an independent directorate, which is also another unit responsible for the offenses like those ones from the Zondo Commission. So that's my presentation.
Can a prosecutor become a presiding officer?
Okay, I can respond to it simply, yes. A prosecutor and a presiding officer, the requirements is LLB. It's just that for you to become a presiding officer, you must have a particular experience. If I'm not mistaken, it should be 8 to 10 years experience being in practice. Yes, you'll find that most prosecutors are appointed to be presiding officers nowadays just because of the experience that they have in working in court. Yes.
Does the NPA hire legal secretaries?
NPA hires anyone with LLB who have successfully gone through the aspirant program. So it's LLB and having gone through aspirant program after the advert of an aspirant prosecutions.
May you please relay the difference or the relationship between NPA and the DPSA?
NPA is an institution of a government, though we are independent. DPSA, it means Department of Public Service and Administration. All departments of government advertise through this Department of Public Service and Administration. For example, Department of Justice, Department of Education, they advertise through DPSA. So our only relationship is to get the guidance from the DPSA as to how the government wants things to be done. Also in relation to the adverts, it is an institution wherein you can get adverts from all the departments. They normally post adverts from different departments. So there's no other relationship except that we look on what the DPSA wants. From there, we proceed and do accordingly. When the advert comes out, NPA Communication Department will liaise with DPSA, and thereafter the advert will be on the DPSA, and it will also be on the NPA website. Yes, there's no other relationship.
How does the job of a prosecutor add value to the economy, or rather improve the economy of the country?
The economy of the country depends on the way in which life is. For example, if the crime is too high, you'll find that investors will be reluctant to come to the Republic and invest. And without investors, it means that jobs remain limited. So it is the responsibility of the NPA to ensure that there is no crime in the country. Together with the justice clusters departments, we ensure that there's no crime which is committed, because no business person would like to be in the country wherein people will be stealing day in, day out, and you will not be making any profit. It means that he can easily pull out from the country. Like these days, there's a lot of cybercrime which is being committed. So it is the responsibility of the police to ensure that they arrest those who are committing the crime. And after arrest, where do they go? NPA must get involved and deal with them. And therefore, the judiciary must ensure that those people are given proper sentences to deter others from committing this offense. Because if that is not done, it means that our economy will not grow.
So Ms. Tulefelo is going to be talking to us about careers as an attorney.
So as mentioned, my name is Tulefelo Lipule, and today I'm going to be speaking about one's career as an attorney. And the main purpose of this discussion, the way I want to structure it, is to firstly give a brief introduction about myself, about my journey to becoming an attorney, and then go into the admission requirements of becoming an attorney. And then lastly, sharing about some of the things that I would have wanted to know in my journey as an attorney, particularly because I myself am a Unisa graduate. So just some of the things that I would have wanted to know as a Unisa graduate. So as mentioned, I'm an attorney, so I am admitted under the laws of South Africa, but I currently work in Dublin. I live in Ireland. And so my title is a foreign registered lawyer. So I'm a foreign registered lawyer currently practicing in Dublin in Ireland at a law firm called Arthur Cox, LLP. And so that means that for as long as I've got this title of foreign registered lawyer, it means I still need to qualify as a solicitor under the laws of Ireland. So I moved here a year ago, so I still need to write my exams, and then I'll become a solicitor. But because of the type of law that I practice, I'm able to do it without having to requalify. I'm able to do it without having to do that. I'll go into more detail if you want to know more about this process. But yes, that's my current position, is that I'm a foreign registered lawyer in Dublin. And just to note that I'll be sharing in my personal capacity today, so nothing related to the current law firm that I work at, just my experience and my journey. So as mentioned, I'm a Unisa graduate. I graduated from Unisa in 2011, and that's where I completed my LLB. And while I was studying through Unisa, I took my lectures at Varsity College in Sandton. So I was attending lectures. And then once I finished at Unisa, I then went to Wits to do my master's degree, and I specialized in labor law. I thought that I wanted to be a labor lawyer, But as time went, and as you'll see as an attorney, there's just many different fields. I then ended up becoming a banking and finance lawyer, which I can just share about in a moment. So fine, I went and I got my master's. And then I started my articles of clerkship at Norton Rose Fulbright. So that I did for 2 years. And then I worked at Weber Wenzel for a couple of years doing banking work, so advising borrowers and lenders, but it's mainly corporate finance. So it's not individuals that we are advising. We're advising borrowers who, for instance, want to build windmill farms, or they want to build malls, and then they go to the banks and they say, I need a loan of however much. And then we then prepare the loan documents and the security. So that's the daily work that I do as a banking and finance lawyer. So while I was at Weber Wenzel, I got an opportunity to work in Kenya for 6 months. And there I was doing the same type of work, but different borrowers, obviously borrowers in Kenya who they do a lot of agriculture and agriculture, like forestry. So they needed money for their plants. So that's the type of financing we're looking at in that region, more agriculture based. They have a lot of tea plantations there. So that's the kind of borrowers we were looking at. And so I did that for 6 months. And then I went back to Weber Wenzel. And then from 2021 to 2022, I then went to work at an international law firm that was still in South Africa called Allen and Overy. I think some of you might know Allen and Overy. And there I worked for a year doing the same work, banking and finance. And then last year, March, I then joined my current firm now in Ireland. So as you can see, I've been working for a long time. I've been working for a while. And so that's allowed me to sort of get some insights. So from domestic law firms in South Africa, as well as international law firms. And then I'm able to then share this information with yourselves on this call to help you, guide you in your career, to see where can you make adjustments, what opportunities are available. So that's my journey, and I'll be giving some tips along the way. I mean, one of the things I was thinking about now, because I was struggling to dial in, was that you should be relentless as a legal practitioner. You should not give up. And I think I sort of had to take a leaf out of my own book to say, don't give up, keep trying to dial into the presentation. And that's what you should be doing with your career, honestly, as an attorney, is just to keep going. And that brings me to the next part of this presentation. Is your first step of becoming an attorney is to get your university qualification, which is an LLB. That's the primary requirement. And some people they'll do the LLB, straight LLB, which is what I did. And then others will do an LLB together with a BCom. And then others will also do an LLB with a BA. So it depends, but baseline and per what's on the Law Society's website, their guidance note is that you need an LLB to start. So that's the first step in terms of your requirements. And then the second step is to apply for your articles of clerkship. So the most important thing that I can advise you on this call, and because it's a workshop, sharing some tips, is while you're studying, try to get some vacation work. So while you're studying, apply to the law firms and say which vacation opportunities do you have. And then you go into the law firms for about 2 weeks or even 3 weeks, and you do your VAC work, and you get to see the world of work. So you can apply for your vacation program when you're studying, so that you can see the world of work. And then while you're now finalizing your LLB, you then apply for your articles as well. So there many sort of websites where the law firms say, there's many websites where it consolidates which law firms are going to be sharing their dates as to when they're issuing. So you can either just go directly to the law firm's website and see, okay, whatever law firm it is, when are you going to be issuing your contract of articles, and then you apply. So keep regularly checking, and then you apply for your articles. So you can apply at the law firms. or at law clinics, right? So that's step 2. Now, step 3 is you get your articles of clerkship and you begin working at the law firm. And so you either serve 2 years at the law firm. So that's what I did. And that's what most law firms expect you to do, is that you do the full 2 years at the law firm. And then there are some law firms that are fine with individuals doing 1 year of articles, but subject to 6 months full-time at the School of Legal Practice. So you can either approach it in that way. But what I've seen is that the law firms actually want you to go through those 2 years with them. Because I myself had done the practical legal training for 6 months when I joined Norton Rose. And I said, well, I've done the 6 months. And they said, even if you've done the 6 months, we still want you to do the 2-year articles. So that's just something to note if you were thinking of doing 1-year articles and then 6 months PLT. Then the next step is your attorney admission exams. And I think I saw somebody ask whether you can write your exams while you're doing your articles. And the answer to that is yes, you can do that, provided that you've been serving your articles for 6 months. So make sure that as soon as you start your articles, you register them, then you serve them for those 6 months, and then you're going to be eligible to register for your board exams and write your 4 board exams. And you can choose whichever way you want to do it. You can do all 4 board exams at one time, or you can do them, you can split them out, provided you complete them before the end of your articles. So those are your board exams. There's a lot of material to cover, so make sure you start early when preparing for your board exams. Then the next step is you pass your board exams, and now you have to go for your fit and proper interview. And in there, you will have this interview conducted by another attorney, and they will ask you some ethics-based questions to say, oh, if a client hands you like an extra amount of money, and it's not put in trust, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with trust accounts? So it's more an ethics-based question, which I think most people will pass, but it's just to check that you are a fit and proper individual to serve in the profession. And then the last step is that you prepare your admission papers and you proceed with your admission as an attorney of the High Court. So you get your documents ready, and then you would have then the advocate do your application to become admitted as an attorney. So that's just a quick run through of how you become admitted as an attorney, but there's also a very helpful note on the Law Society's website. It's very well summarized. It's called Career Guide to the Legal Profession in South Africa. And it was published in February 2023. It's still very much relevant. I've attached a link to it at the end of this presentation, if you'd like to look at it. So those are the admission ones. And then the next one is, this is the last slide on the presentation, is what is important to know, and I think I've already covered it, is to apply for vacation work as early as possible. Right, so that you can obtain work experience. Because I think sometimes when you get into these working environments, they can be overwhelming. But if you've done VAC work, it just gives you some more insights. And then it also bolsters your application for articles, because they see, oh, this person did VAC work when they were in university. Great, they've got 2 weeks here. They shadowed an advocate, or they went into the law firms. It really works in your favor. And then, like I said, remember to register your contract of articles once you start serving articles. This is very, very important, because if you don't register your articles, the time is not being recorded. So you could be there maybe for a year. And if it's not being recorded, then it doesn't count towards your articles. So very, very important. And then again, eligible to write board exams after 6 months of serving articles. And there I've attached a link to the Law Society's note. So yeah, that's my feedback.
I just wanted to know What other steps would we have to take in order to qualify to practice law abroad? Because she's mentioned that she works in Dublin. So what steps would be necessary?
Sure. In order to practice abroad, you would need to re-qualify as a solicitor. So under South African laws, we call ourselves attorneys. We're admitted attorneys under the High Court of South Africa. And then abroad, where I am in Ireland, they're called solicitors. So it's just the equivalent, as well as in the UK, they're also called solicitors. And therefore, in order for me to call myself a solicitor under the laws of Ireland, I'd need to re-qualify. So I need to write my admission exams, but I actually need to write my English law exams first, then become a solicitor under the laws of England and Wales, and then convert it to an Irish qualification. But that's just an application to the Law Society. So in short, I need to write exams again, like board exams again, and then apply to the Law Society. Then they admit me as a solicitor.
Okay. All right. Noted. Yeah. Thank you.
Great.
So my question is around the articles of clerkship. I have a full-time job. I've been in this job for more than 10 years. And I just wanted to know, for me to complete my articles of clerkship, do I need to resign from my job?
Yes, you would need to, well, you need to practice under an admitted attorney. So that would, and you need to be there for a certain period of time and a rolling period of time. So it can't be that you would do them part-time. It needs to be under an admitted attorney. So that's usually when they are working at a law firm. I don't see that it would be, let's say, in-house or something like that. It has to be at a law firm, and you have to be with that principal for a certain amount of time without a break.
Okay, thank you.
If you are over the age of 35, or if you are 35 and above, will this jeopardize your chances of getting articles, or it doesn't matter the age?
No, it's not. It doesn't discriminate on age. So you can apply for articles at whatever age you are. I've seen people who, there was one lady where I was working at Weber Wenzel, and she was a dentist before. So she would have been maybe 42 years. And then she decided to change her career and start her articles afresh, start her articles as an attorney. So she was maybe 43 when she started. And then she went through the route, and then she got admitted. So it does not discriminate based on age at all.
Is there a difference between finance and banking and tax, or does one fall under the other?
Yeah, in practice at the law firms, they treat it differently because there's so much involved in each field. So I work in banking and finance. So I'll be doing banking and finance elements, the loans, the security. So that's what I focus on. But my work does have a tax element to it. So because we need to advise borrowers on the tax regime, if maybe they are issuing securities, we need to see if there's any like stamp duty. But when we are looking at the tax aspects of the deal, we always consult with our tax team. So there's an entire tax team that is dedicated to looking at tax matters. And then we refer them to say, look at this aspect of this document. Please, can you advise us? They advise us, and then we're able to then fully advise our client from that perspective. So they're different.
Is it true that one must have attended physical classes in order for a Unisa student to work abroad? So without wasting any time, I'm going to call on our next speaker, Mr. Calvin Simpson. Mr. Simpson is going to take us through careers in new law. Mr. Simpson?
I am a lawyer who studied his BCom LLB, LLB postgrad, and did my PLT, and I am not an admitted attorney. So I decided to take a different route out of university and look at alternative career paths that one can follow in the legal industry. And I know that there's probably a lot of students out there who are feeling some anxiety about articles, getting articles, or who may not feel like traditional law is the way for them. And hopefully I'm going to answer some of the questions about what new law is and where one can get involved in this alternative industry. So if I move across to our agenda for today, we'll start by looking at the introduction to what this actually is, the rise of ALS, career opportunities in new law, and then some tips and takeaways. So let me start by answering a question or two about what we're talking about today. So I don't think everyone has probably heard of this concept of new law or ALSPs. So what is new law? New law is essentially looking at the way that the traditional legal practice has been run and thinking about whether there is an alternative approach to this. New law is focused on using technology, using new ways of working, remote working, and a different combination of lawyers to do work. In new law, we would approach a problem not by how it's been done in the past, but how we think it should be done in the most efficient way. Most new law companies are not law firms. In fact, just about every single one is not a law firm because they don't offer exactly the same services to their clients. And now an ALSP, which I'll probably refer to quite a bit as we go through these slides, is an alternative legal service provider. So you can think of these ALSPs as legal companies, so a business or corporation that provides legal work to their clients, but doesn't provide legal opinions or go to court, as an example, and doesn't necessarily have to have registered attorneys and advocates doing all of their work. The ALSP market is quite large. It's worth $16 billion at the moment. And it's estimated to grow to $33 billion by 2030. And it's growing at a rate of 8% per annum instead of 2%, which most mid-sized law firms are growing at across the world. Why did this idea of new law and ALSPs come about? Well, there was a lot of pressure on the billing that has been done by law firms in the past because of pressures in the economy, as well as pressures on law firms to move away from the billable hour and the amount that's being charged. And clients are becoming more sensitive to how much they spend on legal services. So let's jump to the next slide. Alternative legal services, and I've put a lot of text on these slides. I hope they'll be available to everyone afterwards so they can go in more detail. So I'll just touch on the most important aspects here. So as we mentioned, these are non-traditional legal services, and they focus on slightly different tasks for clients. The ALS space gets involved when there is something that can be done that is not, that a law firm is not required to do. It's not a regulated matter. So for instance, large-scale litigation cases require lawyers to read sometimes millions of documents and decide if they're relevant for discovery. That's called e-discovery nowadays, and the ALSPs get involved in that. Or you have a world event that happens, let's go with COVID-19, which requires you to assess all your contracts, see if there's a force majeure clause, and if not, maybe enter into repapering. An ALSP is really well suited to repaper, redraft, and negotiate those contracts because you don't necessarily need an expensive law firm to do relatively standard repapering and contracting. So the traditional law firm and the traditional services will always be those companies that are regulated and are allowed to go to court, allowed to give legal opinions, because that is handled within particular regulations in the different jurisdictions. And it is a requirement that a law firm does that due to their insurance and the particular standards that they need to adhere to, whereas an ALSP will focus on specific processes and projects that they can help companies with. They generally help corporates. So they would be helping the likes of an ABSA, Standard Bank, Barclays, Telcom, any of those corporates. So what led to the rise of the ALS or ALSP? The big one here is the huge technological advancements that we're seeing in the legal industry. So I myself head up the legal tech team of Cognia Law, and we use AI, machine learning, and process automation in a lot of the things that we do. So traditionally, if you needed a contract, it could be that a law firm would draft that contract from a template and put in the relevant information. Now, we wouldn't do that. We would provide an automated first draft to our lawyers internally, and they would then present that to the client or tweak it slightly, but 90% of the work has been done through automation. Or we would use AI to review a contract that's come back during negotiation, and it indicates which particular clauses are relevant for our team to actually look at. So instead of reading 100 pages, maybe they just read a couple of pages to understand the key points for negotiation. So by having these technological advancements, it allows companies to be more cost effective and more efficient generally. But the market demand has also allowed for this kind of sector to grow quite rapidly. So we're seeing that a lot of corporates are reducing their spend to specifically external law firms because they are expensive. They're experts in their field, but you pay for their expert knowledge. So in 2019, you would see that a lot of corporates would spend about 61% of their legal spend on external counsel, such as law firms. But in 2024, this has dropped to 47%. So half of their budget is, or less than half, is now being spent on law firms. And the difference really is being used on ALSPs and in-house counsel. And then the specialization. We mentioned e-discovery as one. It's far more efficient to use an ALSP, which has all the technology and the tools and the experience to do something very specific, like e-discovery, where you're reading these millions of contracts, as opposed to law firms who should really focus on that expert knowledge, that stuff they're really good at, and they would be a little bit expensive to use a partner or a fresh associate to read those documents, whereas an ALSP might use a combination of paralegals, associates, and project managers to deliver work. And then the other two that are really suited is contract management, so the drafting, negotiation, and maintenance of a contract, as well as compliance check, which is a big space at the moment with the growth of ESG and the Modern Slavery Act across the world. So I hope that is a little bit clearer now. I think the main distinction to think about here is that a law firm is our traditional view, really experts in certain fields and providing that regulated knowledge, whereas an ALSP is more focused on being set up as a company that does specific legal processes. They don't go to court, but they help clients do specific legal focused work, such as contract negotiation. And I think what's really relevant for everyone is, what are the career paths in new law and ALSPs? Now, there are some more traditional looking paths. So there's always a place for admitted attorneys, paralegals, and advocates, retired advocates, to work in this field, to do contract negotiation and to do really similar work to what they would have done in a law firm, but in a more project-focused work. And I'm not going to focus too much on those very traditional career paths, other than to say that there's always space for lawyers within this sector to do their work, contract negotiation mainly, I'm going to rather focus on 4 emerging areas that we're seeing in South Africa specifically and internationally. So it's important to note that in this sector, remote working is completely acceptable. You would work for mainly international clients when working in the sector. So all of my clients are international, even though I'm based in Cape Town, which is great because it gives us a lot of exposure to different industries across the world, but also means that South Africans who are noted for their expertise in the legal industry, being one of the top areas for outsourcing, are highly sought after. I think someone has their microphone on, so I'm hearing some background noise. Okay. So as I mentioned, we're going to look at 4 main career paths that you might not be familiar with. Okay. Touching on them briefly, and I'll just speak to the more interesting and more important aspects. We're going to talk about project managers, legal engineers, advisory consultants, and solution architects. I myself am a solution architect. And if we go into the detail, what are these different career paths? So project managers, you would have probably heard about it in other areas, but maybe less so in the legal industry. And with people seeing how much they're spending on projects and on legal spend, they've realized that they need a bit of structure in the way that they deliver work. So if you are renegotiating 7,000 contracts, it's probably good for someone to manage that process, ensure things are done according to budget, according to a specific time frame, and done correctly in terms of law. So in this space, we usually distinguish between a normal project manager who doesn't have legal experience and a legal project manager, which is a really sought after person because they combine the skill of being able to manage things and effectively deliver on timelines and projects with their legal knowledge. And what they would do is actually help set up the project, decide on the different tasks that need to be done over, let's say, 6 months, and ensure that those are all done correctly to schedule. They also give their legal opinions or legal advice around what should be done in different areas. So they use their knowledge of the law to say, well, maybe in this situation, because of a particular regulation, we need to also consider adding this particular schedule to a contract, as an example. So using your legal knowledge, and if you are someone who is really focused on detail, you can combine the two to become kind of an expert in managing large-scale projects. Then we move on to legal engineers, which I think is quite a cool sounding term. And it's a field where there is a huge demand and a huge rise in career opportunities, both from a remuneration point of view and from the growth in demand internationally. So you'll find that there's a lot of international employers that are using South African resources to deliver work. So you would be poached by companies across the world if you have the right skill set. So what is a legal engineer? Think of the legal engineer like myself, who's a bit of a nerd and likes technology, but also has really good legal skills. But they are the type of people who are focused on how to use technology most efficiently to deliver a particular product or to improve upon a process. So a legal engineer should have that legal skill, so through an LLB, become LLB, relevant LLB, that do not need to be admitted. It's not a requirement at all, and it does assist, but in the long run, it's not relevant. But they need to have some sort of a technological aptitude. So doesn't mean you need to be able to program when you start, but it does mean that you should not be the type of person who struggles to use their cell phone or their PC and shies away from technology. If you've thought about tackling a particular problem with technology and you enjoy those problem-solving skills, this could be a career path that really is suited to you. As you move along, there's some key responsibilities there. Because it's such a growing sector, a lot of the time you get on-the-job training. So you'll be expected to look at various systems, integrate them, make sure that the one system can automatically draft a contract and then automatically assign it to someone, as an example, 2 different systems. Look at a process and see how you could automate it or make it more efficient. There is a little bit of software development, but it shouldn't scare people. It's usually something called low code, no code, and you'll be trained that. And then there's data management, which is key, but a little bit boring. And then training support on the solutions that you would have put together. That's most of the aspects around legal engineers. And as mentioned, it's a rapidly growing space, and there aren't enough people to fill these roles across the world. If we go on to the next space, this is sort of a continuation, I would say, on the legal engineer. It's similar in that the individual needs to understand how legal processes work, but also needs to understand how different technologies work. And the main focus of this advisory consultant, and it could be a legal advisory consultant, a legal tech advisory consultant, but we're going to keep it under the umbrella term, is to look at a process for a corporate, for one of their clients, so not internally generally, and to see which areas of that process don't really make sense. Why is a partner drafting all the NDAs, as an example, which we've seen in the past? Why, because things are not allocated efficiently, are the wrong type of resources doing the wrong contracts? And then to identify that problem and essentially propose a solution, which could be as simple as improving a process, which could be a manual process, or even to introduce technology to improve the solution. So where it differs from the legal engineer is the legal engineer essentially builds things for people, and the advisory consultant looks at a problem, figures out the solution, and then usually works with the legal engineer to build the solution. Really important here is being able to work with clients and being able to have a conversation with clients and explain things simply to them. And there's the whole change management piece, which you guys will hear about more as you work. People don't like change, and change management is all about convincing people that the change is going to be good for them and getting people to do things. The next one, the solution architect, is generally someone who was a legal engineer or has experience as a legal engineer. And the main distinction here is that the solution architect is responsible for everything at a macro level. They are responsible for running the team of legal engineers, but also when they design specific solutions, they need to make sure that everything works together. So you can't have a system that's going to generate a contract but cannot be used by anything else because, I don't know, it's in the wrong format or something like that. They're essentially the designers of everything, and they need to ensure that whatever they design works for the whole company, not just for one department, but that it's going to work for the whole company. As I mentioned, they generally lead teams, but they also would be a key point of contact along with the consultants to answer very technical questions and to also identify specifically tech issues or improvements that could be made to something. Okay, probably rush through that quite quickly, but hopefully these slides will be available to you guys. And I'm going to just highlight a couple of important concepts in the new law space. So the first one, a lot of emerging careers in this space, great blend of technology and business skills, and it's great because it allows for remote working and to work for international companies. There are diverse roles, so it won't be very traditional roles, and if the traditional roles scare you away, maybe consider this area of the law, and it's legal engineers, solution architects, all of those kind of things. There's a huge amount of what people like to use the buzzword agility in the market. You need to be able to pick up new things all the time, propose new solutions, and every year we're seeing a new piece of technology or advancement of AI, and you need to be excited about that and be able to pick that up. There is a large impact on legal services because we are picking up the areas of law where law firms are not necessarily best suited because of their cost structure. So we're picking up all those pieces of work, and the ALSP sector is growing rapidly, 8% compound year-on-year growth, which doesn't sound like a lot, but compared to the 2% for mid-sized law firms is pretty significant. And to finish it all up, because there might be a lot of questions, I hope, I just want to remind everyone, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but Cognia will be hosting a new law career series, which runs from the 20th to the 29th of August, with online events as well as an in-person networking event. I'm sure your lecturers will share more information close to the time, but you'll be able to find out a whole lot more information about the space with some experts in the field talking to everyone.
As I was doing research on Cogna, your company, I kept coming across posts that said requirements, one of the requirements was an LLB years. And then there was a clause that said from the top South African universities, which was confusing. Do you regard Unisa as a top South African university?
Of course. Yeah, Unisa is definitely one of the top universities. I'm sure you all would be proud to hear that and to agree on that. So Unisa is definitely one of them.
Is there any internship that one can take maybe for those careers, or are we supposed to also do some vacation work like the traditional legal?
Our company does offer vacation or VAC work, as well as a paid year of internship, if I could call it internship, where you get exposure to all the different sections, and that's available to all students who have finished their LLB. So you would apply in your final year, and you would be with us for a year and get exposure to the market. And many of the other ALSPs in the market, such as Exigent, Radiant Law, and I'm not sure of the others, but they're all part of the New Law Career Seminar, also offer similar opportunities.
So our next speaker that we have is Mr. Nwako Mogoto, who is from admission department in the College of Law.
My name is Nwako Mogoto. I am the communications and marketing specialist at the College of Law. My role necessarily is to deal with issues of communications and marketing. And specifically on marketing, I deal with student recruitment. I'm the one that is responsible for the enrollment target of the college broadly in the university. So I'm here today. Necessarily, I'm not from, just to make a correction, I'm not from the admission department, but I am the one that interact with students on a daily basis in terms of their recruitment and them coming to join us at Unisa. So my presentation will necessarily focus on the qualifications that we offer at the university. It will also focus on the admission requirements for specific qualifications that we offer. And we will also look at our MND qualifications and possibly have a bit of time to look at what we call RPL, recognition of prior learning, although I did not include it in my presentation. But I think listening to the discussions today, I think that it might be relevant. So firstly, we just wanted to tell you briefly about the college. The College of Law, and I've heard from the questions, a number of questions, they confuse the two, and possibly maybe we can make a bit of clarity around that. The College of Law, as vision, is towards the leading college of law and justice in Africa. We are one of the biggest colleges in the country, offering higher education in legal framework and also in the criminal justice. That is why we've got two schools in our college. We've got the School of Law that is focusing on offering tuition towards those that will want to focus on law. And then we have got the School of Criminal Justice that is geared towards those that will want to focus on criminal justice. In trying to unpack what is the School of Law would therefore consist of about 5 departments. It will be the Department of Private Law, Department of Public, Constitutional and International Law, Department of Jurisprudence, and Department of Mercantile Law, the last one being Department of Criminal and Procedural Law. The second school that we have in the college, it is the Department of Criminology and Security Science, Department of Corrections Management, and Department of Police Practice. And I think this differentiation is very important to a number of students or prospective students in understanding that the two necessarily differs in that the School of Law focus on qualifications around law. They offer your LLB, your BCom law, whereas the School of Criminal Justice will then offer qualifications in criminology, in policing, in corrections management, and in police practice. So there's the development of law, which is the School of Law, and there's the administration of law in the criminal justice. So you would know that the criminal justice and the School of Law, when it is in application, they do work together, because in courts you would have people that would need interpretation of law, although they are not necessarily lawyers. Police will also need an interpretation of law, although they are not lawyers. Or maybe I should say they need to apply the law, although they are not lawyers. The second issue that I'll deal with is the admission requirements for our qualifications and the process in which one becomes a student at Unisa. And then also just highlight some of the qualifications that we do offer in the college. The first point of departure, if you want to be a student of Unisa, is that you must apply for admission. This will include first-time Unisa applicants, Unisa students changing from one qualification to the other, applicants who previously applied for admission and were not offered space, or who were offered a space accepted but did not register, students completing higher certificate or any other program who wish to further the undergraduate studies. This is very important for our prospective students, that the most important part for us is to apply to study for a specific field. If you have applied for a LLB, for instance, but now you want to switch to criminology, you will need to apply again for criminology. But I think that will handle it at a later stage. And then we offer qualifications from a higher certificate. I see I've omitted it in my presentation, but we offer qualifications from a higher certificate, diploma, advanced diploma, and bachelor's degree, honors, masters, and PhD. Now, some of the diplomas that we have in our School of Criminal Justice will include Diploma in Corrections Management. This, in the South African context, will speak to the Department of Correctional Service and the manner and the work that they do in the correctional service. You would know that in the correctional service, you would have your parole officers, you would have your, what is this? People that administer the jails. You would have your people that will deal with the parole of inmates, will deal with people that manages the inmates and so forth. And then you would also have diploma in policing. The diploma in policing will necessarily focus on the police department, your SAPS, your Metro Police, and so forth. And then we also offer diploma in security management. This would include questions of cybercrime. I've had a question about cybercrime earlier on, cybercrime, security, and now there's a new element that is coming in of cybersecurity that we are integrating it into our modules. And then you would also have an advanced diploma in security management. It's more the equivalent of a postgraduate qualification, this one, that then allows you to do your postgraduate qualifications. And then we also have bachelor degrees, which is a Bachelor of Arts in Criminology, Bachelor of Arts in Forensic Science and Technology, Bachelor of Arts in Police Science. And then we also offer 2 qualifications that will fall under the School of Law, which will be the Bachelor of Commerce in Law. Normally, people call it Bachelor BCom Law. And then we'll have our signature program, which is the Bachelor of Laws. We normally call it the LLB. And the Bachelor of Commerce in Law and the Bachelor of Laws, LLB. Okay, the Bachelor of Commerce in Law is a 3-year qualification. That is the infusion of the legal aspect and the commercial aspect. So in this instance, you are going to have to study for your accounting, economics, but you are also going to study for your family law, modules, and so forth, that mostly are integrated in the Bachelors of Laws. The Bachelor of Laws, which is the LLB, is the one that allows you to become an attorney in the South African context. It allows you to be what we call a lawyer, and you will need to study it for 4 years. I think it's about 40 or 42 modules that is spread across for over 4 years. And then you study for these qualifications of Bachelor of Laws. And then upon completion of the Bachelor of Laws, you can then specialize in whatever field that you would want to do at the master's level, whether you do conveyancing, you do mercantile law, you do fields that are related to law. We'll get to them when we deal with the masters. So these are the qualifications that we offer at the undergraduate level. So for those students or prospective students who might find it difficult because of their matric outcomes, that sometimes they do not get acceptance directly to these qualifications at undergraduate level, what we do, we offer a certificate in law and a certificate in criminal justice. And this is not a bridging course, it's a certificate, because when matriculants matriculate, you would see in their matric results, it will be written higher certificate, it will be written higher diploma, or a bachelor's. So we admit students according to their outcomes of matric. So if ever yours is saying certificate, it will mean that you will be directly taken to do a certificate qualification. And upon that certificate, will then boost your chances of doing an undergraduate qualifications, such as a diploma or a degree. I'll try to deal with the admission requirements for the diploma. Our admission requirements for a diploma is that it is dependent on you meeting a specific admission requirements for your chosen degree. For instance, for a diploma in policing, you will need to have a national certificate with the diploma endorsement with at least 50% in the language of teaching and learning. In this instance, you will need to have 50% in English. And alternatively, you'll need to have a senior certificate with at least a D simple. And then the D simple, obviously, you can convert it to the APS scores that are normally used in universities. Or you'll need to have a C simple on standard grade in language of teaching and learning. Or you will need to have the higher certificate that I've just explained. Applicants who do not meet the above requirements should consider applying for the higher certificate offered by the college. So what I'm meaning is that if you do not qualify for the natural undergraduate qualification, you will then need to do the higher certificate, which therefore boosts your chances of then being admitted to that qualification. And then there are admission requirements for a degree. A degree and a diploma will not necessarily be the same in terms of the SAQA scaling or the SAQA grading. So for you to be admitted in our degrees, inclusive of the LLB, is that you'll need to have a senior certificate with a degree endorsement, is what I've explained earlier on, with at least 50% in matric, 50% in the language of teaching and learning. And in this instance, it will be English. Or you'll need to have a diploma related to law. And in this instance, we've got a diploma in law. And then we will also need to, if in the instance that you do not qualify, you must also have a higher certificate. That will then boost your chances of being admitted to the degree qualifications. And then for the masters, you will need to have an honors degree or a 4-year qualification, in the form of LLB and an honors degree. And then for the PhD, you will need to have a master's. And these qualifications, obviously, they will have also their further or specific requirements that you would need to fulfill. For instance, in some instances, master's degrees, they'll require you to write a mini, they'll require you to write a mini dissertation about what is it that you want to do, a bit of research in the field of study that you would want to pursue. So in terms of our admission for our MND, I'm meaning master's and doctorate, you will need to have a 4-year degree, as I explained, or an honors degree. So these are some of our masters, not necessarily all of them. We've got a lot of master's degree that are specializing in respective fields. But here we've got masters in corrections management, criminal justice, justice corrections, criminology, police practice, forensic science, and then we've got other that are leaning towards LLB. And then the same is applicable to our PhD, is more or less the same of our master's. It's a continuation of that. So our doctoral degrees will have a Doctor of Laws in Jurisprudence, Mercantile Law, Private Law, Public, Constitutional and International Law, Corrections Management, Criminology and Security Management. So basically what we're saying is that at the master's level and at the PhD level, students will then specialize in the field of study that they would choose. Mostly if you're doing LLB, you would then choose from some of the modules that you have done at the 4th level. Then you specialize in that, and then you pursue research in those particular fields. The application process for Unisa is as follows. Our application, for instance, for 2025 will open during the first week of September. I do not have the specific date because the registration department has not issued us with that particular date, but normally it will happen from the first week of September. And this is the normal process that students do. Our applications are purely online. So you will use your cell phone, you will use your laptop to apply to our institution. So what you do is that you go to www.unisa.ac.za, and during that particular process, the first page and the first issues that encounter on that website, it will be the application process that assists you, that navigates you throughout the application process. It will actually tell you that we are requesting for your name, your surname, your studies, where did you matriculate, and, those kind of normal questions. It will lead you as a process. And then once you have done that, you would be required to upload your matric certificate or any other qualification that you have. Normally what you do, we say students must have it in the form of a PDF so that it can be easily uploaded to our systems. And then once you have done that, you need to pay an application fee of 135 rand, citing your student number as a reference number for the application. And then the 135 rand it's deposited to FNB. Our accounts are available on the internet. If you say Unisa account number, it will just appear. And then once you have done the payment, you can visit www.unisa.ac.za payment info to process your application. Just kindly note that the applicant fee is non-refundable, and if you decide not to study through Unisa, or maybe you do not qualify for admission, you cannot be offered space or due to limited space available, you will not be refunded this 135 rands. Maybe something that I need to mention, especially when we're speaking about the 135, is that when you make an application to Unisa, it's not guaranteed that you are going to find space. You are just simply making an application to study, and they will evaluate your application and see if ever you qualify for a specific qualification that you have applied for. And remember that even if you've got good marks at matric level, you are not necessarily guaranteed space to study at Unisa, because we encounter a lot of students that comes to us that I've been applying, but I do not get space. It does not necessarily guarantee you that you are going to get space for the specific year. For 2024, you might not have found space, but for 2025, you might have found space, because all the universities in South Africa are regulated by what we call the enrollment target. So the Department of Higher Education and Training will give us a specific number of students that we can admit each and every year. So we do not have an unlimited number of students that we can take for our qualifications. So we've got a limited number of students that we can be able to take. So the sooner you make your application, the better. Maybe let me just zoom into, I've not included it in my slides, but I realized that we've got people that are working in this, and maybe they might also look and be interested. So we've got what we call an RPL process at Unisa. It's not necessarily at Unisa only, it's in all the universities. The RPL process is what we call recognition of prior learning, and we've got someone in the college that is dedicated to deal with the RPL process. I'll share the details with the organizers. Later, they can also share them with you. The RPL process is the recognition of prior learning. So in this instance, we recognize the work experience that we have over a period or where you have been working. For instance, if you have been a security officer for over 10 years, and then you come to us and you say that I've been a security officer for 10 years, and here's my portfolio of evidence, the work that you've been doing, also certified by your managers and everything as proof of evidence that this person has been doing this thing. We would evaluate that particular portfolio of evidence, and if you do qualify, we will then credit you for some of the modules within the qualifications that you are doing. Currently, we are doing a lot of work with the security industry. We're doing a lot of work with policing. We're doing a lot of work with corrections management in terms of this RPL process. So you will need to apply for the RPL process. When I share the details with you, it's a form of also entering higher education. So you will need to go through this process, particularly if you've been in the industry for a very long time. And for the purpose of this is more towards legal, but the university has got a number of colleges, and those that would want to do other qualifications. We do also offer teaching, we do also offer accounting, we do also offer science, human science, and so forth and so on, economic management sciences. So you need to go to our website, familiarize yourself with the qualification that you need to study, look at the module content that we do offer, they're there available, and then look at the duration of your studies. Normally, a degree will take you about 3 years. A higher certificate will take you about a year. Honors will take you about a year. Masters 1 to 2 years. PhD to 3 years. So you familiarize yourself with those kind of information prior to you making an application and making a decision that you are going to study this. So you must frequent our website. All this information is there on our website. For any other matter that you would want to engage with us, we've got our email address. For communications and marketing, you can email me at mokgocj1@unisa.ac.za. For those students that have got inquiries, that want testimonials, that the examination have got queries and so forth, they need to liaise with Mrs. Linda Boy at boyipl@unisa.ac.za.
I am currently a final year LLB student. I actually started off with I enrolled for, I didn't meet the requirements for an LLB, so I enrolled for a higher certificate, and thereafter I decided to do my LLB. I applied and then I got accepted. Upon doing my LLB, I also noticed that Unisa offers a BCom. So when I looked at the BCom curriculum, I looked at some of the subjects were similar to an LLB, and then some subjects were not similar. So after I complete my LLB this year, well, then I guess I'd have to reapply again for a BCom next year to get accepted and register. Well, basically start a whole new application for the BCom. Will the subjects that I have already done in my LLB be accredited towards my BCom? And does that give me a higher chance of being accepted for my BCom, or I'm just like any other student?
Okay, no, thank you very much. Yes, remember, you are saying you want to do BCom. I'm not so sure if ever you want to do the BCom law, which reside within our college, or you want to do BCom that reside within the economic management sciences. Which kind of BCom would you want to do? The one of law?
Yes, please.
Okay, the one of law, yes, indeed. If you've got the LLB, it boosts your chances of being admitted to doing the BCom law. And yes, indeed, some of the modules that are in the BCom law, actual majority of modules that are in the BCom law are in the LLB curriculum. The modules or subjects that you will find that are not in the LLB will be the ones that are leaning towards commerce. As I explained earlier on, this will be your accounting, this will be your business management, this will be your your economics. So they will not necessarily be in the BCom, in the LLB. And if there are, obviously you will have to make an application, and then we'll be able to credit you for some of the modules that you will do. I would know at some point, but they've changed these systems now. I would know that at some point you would find that you are credited towards about half of the modules that you would have done in another qualifications. For instance, if you have done 40, then they would possibly credit you to up until 20 modules that you would have done, or 15 of that. So you would be credited indeed. Thank you very much.
I have recently completed my LLB, so I'm very interested in continuing my education and doing an LLM. So I've been checking out other universities, and I see that they specify whether an LLM is going to take 1 year or 2 years or 3. However, when I check on our Unisa website, it doesn't really specify the number of years. However, though, I do know that it might be 1 to 3 years. And it says I should check the procedure form. I think it's 4.1 and 4.2. I do check that, but it doesn't really specify how long would the masters take. So I would like to ask, how long would a master's in banking law take if one would be able to register an LLM in banking? Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you very much through you, Chair. Master's degree, it's a 1-year qualification. Master's degree. And then depending if ever other universities define it as like this, if you're studying it for full time, you will take 1 year. But if you're doing it for part-time, you will then take 2 years. At Unisa, we do things differently. For instance, I spoke about, you would know if ever you've completed the degree with us, you would know that LLB takes 4 years. There are people that complete LLB with 4 years. There are those that complete it with 6, 7, 8 years and so forth. So we do not have, I think we've got about 10 years that we give you to complete. I'll just need to verify it with Linda. But we offer you, say for instance, the degree is 1 year. We'll have a limit, we'll give you a limited time of possibly close to 5 years to complete the qualification. And you can do it over a spread of years. We do not necessarily say if ever you have not completed within a year or 2, then we're getting, unless it is related to your CTAs and everything that have got timeframes and modules that you can pass. But masters generally it's a year, depending on how you spread your own studies. It can be extended to 3 to 5 years.
I'm going to welcome Dr. Pitswane, who is the head of counseling in Gauteng region, to come and do the vote of thanks.
To all our presenters, thank you for taking time to come over and present to our students. I know quite well that you are very busy wherever you are, but the time that you are giving us and our students, we really appreciate it. And of course, you actually showed sympathy and empathy today on Mandela Day. So you have done your 67 minutes today, and thank you for that. Even if you don't do it, you did it for our student. Thank you, and keep on doing a good work to our people. And to Mrs. Makanya, who opened our workshop today. In absentia, she had just left our workshop. Thank you very much, and for ensuring that you make us feel welcome, and to educate our students that career is not only about academic development, but it also talks to your future career fields, whereby you should know what you need to do when you complete your studies. We appreciate you as a career specialist for having given us that information. And to SIPO, we are encouraged by what you have said, and even us, we will be able to use the law clinic. We did not know what it entails, but I suppose our law students going forward, they will visit the law clinic. Thank you for availing yourself. I know quite well that you had to squeeze yourself in because you were also going for Mandela Day initiatives today, but we appreciate your time. And to Mr. Bennett Mhlongo, thank you for giving us guidance on the registration processes in your legal entity. We appreciate that. And Mr. Tliane from ULSA, young as you are, thank you for sharing the information with the students, and we hope that they will be able to use the services of ULSA. Our advocate, you educated us on a career as a prosecutor. That's something that we did not know quite well. So now we know what it takes to be a prosecutor and your day-to-day work as you go to the office. It was sort of shadowing at its best. Thank you for availing your time. I know quite well that you should be overwhelmed with a lot of cases that are happening in our country. And Solo, for being you, thank you. You are far, but you were able to join us from Ireland, Dublin. Thank you for making time. You are always available and you are part of us. We appreciate you. You were able to give our students an opportunity to understand being an attorney locally, internationally, as well as nationally. I suppose that our students will then know that they should not only look within South Africa, they can even go to Kenya, they can go to Ghana, they can go to USA, they can go to Europe and practice law. As long as there is a will in you, you'd be able to make it in life. Thank you for encouraging our students. And to Mr. Calvin, that is a career in new law. Yeah, that is very interesting. So wherever you are, whatever you do, you are able to work as a lawyer in every field. I think that's a new way in which our students should be able to embrace it and know that they can go into such a career. We thank you for being present and also your team. And our last speaker, Mr. Mkoto, I believe this would be Matlohomayo. I'll express it Kasitswana, because we have been wanting to talk to you, to collaborate with you, but today you were present and we appreciate you. I hope you'll be able to respond to us so that we can encourage our law students because they are so frustrated. We get lots of emails and we do not know how to help them. But with you next to us, I'm proposing in this platform that we should have a law careers fair, zooming only into the law for our students like we do have with other colleges. I suppose we can have a talk after this. I'm just using this platform so that if you are present, we can be able to chat going forward. I appreciate everybody, all technical team that has been working behind the scene. Thank you for working so hard to make this a success. Our student counselor, Johannesburg, Val, Florida, Ekurhuleni, I appreciate you. I thank you. And for now, I'm handing over to our program director for closure. I have done my part and thank you very much. Please remember to complete the questionnaire again, the evaluation, so that next year we can improve on what we have done this year. Everybody, I'm so grateful for this opportunity and for you to have been here, our dear students. I'm proud of you. I know that you really are eager to become lawyers and attorneys of the future. Thank you for availing yourself in numbers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pitwane. And just to note also, those who are looking for mentors, we are going to post a link for mentorship if you need a mentor, because someone mentioned that, this route can be lonely sometimes. So it doesn't have to be. And also, as we sign out on our last workshop, for 2024 Law Professionals Workshop, I would like that we all open our mics and our videos so that we can all see our fellow students, and we might bump on each other on these corridors and you'll never know. And it helps for those that also feel that maybe they are lonely. Can we all just wave and greet each other? Can we all open our mics, please, and our videos?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Bye.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Hello and bye to everyone.
Hi, bye.
Hello and thank
Bye.
you,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.